We said on this program 6 months ago that Trump was not coming to change Washington. He was coming to burn it to the ground. That's what he was elected to do. That's what he's trying to do. How's he doing?
Well, in the bureaucratic sense, he's not going to succeed. But in the cultural sense, there's a just savage war going on right now. And Trump is doing a lot of damage. Ultimately, it's impossible to predict whether the leftist media will go back to where it was. But right now, it's on the run and paying out, as you mentioned, an enormous amount of money to President Trump for past indiscretions. There's an article in the Wall Street Journal today about Kimmel. And I said this last week on NewsNation, that this Kimmel suspension and then reinsertment into the ABC lineup wasn't what the press was reporting. It had nothing to do with freedom of speech at all. And the Journal today lays out what I said last week, is that the talent agencies in Los Angeles, all left-wing, 100%, threatened Disney and Bob Iger and said, if you don't put Kimmel back on the air, a lot of our clients not going to do business with you. That means you're not going to get actors and producers and writers and directors. Take it to another studio. Iger surrendered on the spot. And then Kimmel went back. Now, think about that. Think about the power that the left in Hollywood has to bring a company like Disney to its knees. Not that Disney was that resistant.
So does that mean Trump's succeeding
or not?
It's a
woke company, too.
You say it's doing all this damage.
Well,
is it worth the damage to the country?
You have to understand, when you say succeeding, at some level he is, but these people are so powerful. These people, movie studios, television studios, they're so powerful that I think they're treading water now. They don't want to go up against Trump. Trump can hurt them, all right, directly hurt them. But once he's gone in 3 years, they'll reassert themselves, and I think that's what's happening.
Okay. You said that he's doing a lot of damage. Is the country better off for this fight happening, or would it be better off if we had a president fighting and spending 100% of his time on the issues you've talked about on this program as ultimately real risks to Trump? The economy, and you've talked about how Russia is a huge risk for Trump, and so far he has not found success in that either.
Well, that's true, but you can do both at the same time. And a competent president would take on what he believes is deceit. Look, Leland, it's virtually impossible now for the average American to get honest information on a variety of issues, because the strangulation in the urban newspapers, on the network news, and thank God for NewsNation.
Oh, I agree, thank God for NewsNation, but hold on, Bill, I have to think about this. I can't figure out how the right views all of the media cabal that everyone talks about, right? Because at the same time, the left makes fun of NBC Nightly News, World News Tonight, and the CBS Evening News because their ratings are in the tank. They barely exist in terms of what they once were, okay? It's a joke. A lot of local newspapers in America also don't exist if they even print, okay? And in many big cities, they print every other day. So you've got multiple websites. You've got the No Spin News. You've got NewsNation as an option on cable news. You've got all sorts of people on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. You've got all the TikTok folks. It wasn't like it was 30 years ago. How long can the right keep blaming everything on the left media cabal and at the same time say they're failing?
Well, as long as it's pervasively left, which it is, they can keep blaming it forever. And you didn't mention Fox News. And Fox News succeeded to a tremendous extent because it entered into a media world that didn't have
50% of the people didn't have somebody talking to them.
Right. And that's why it succeeded, and that's what it does to this day, FNC. But the point is that you're right about the individual news agencies not having the influence that they once did. Peter Jennings, Tom Brokaw, it's gone. It's never going to come back. But what they say, and the Associated Press and all of that, gets into the social media. And then it gets shaped up by the leftists in there and spit out. And there are more leftist
really,
media
though, the
operations than rightists.
Okay, so if in 2 years prices are high and Russia is insolved, I'll even go less than that, I'll go in 6 months. Prices are accelerating, inflation is up, and Russia is insolved, but Trump gets more settlements of money to himself personally from various news organizations. Which one makes the country better off?
Well, it's not a matter of better off. Trump will lose his power. So in the midterms, if the economy is still wobbly and people are not confident, they'll stay home. They're not going to run over to vote for the left. They're just not going to show up. And Trump will lose the House or the Senate or both, and that'll be the end of his administration. So Russia, you can't make the call because it doesn't directly affect everybody yet. It will. But the economy is light years ahead of any other issue as far as maintaining power is concerned.
All right, so you believe that Trump can successfully do two things: go to war, I called it a nuclear war, you called it a savage war with the American institutions, and deal with prices and the economy. And to be fair,
I hope so.
Yeah, okay. The
I
difference,
hope he is, because
that's what matters. But let me get to this soundbite. This is the editor of The New Yorker. He was on Meet the Press, and what I think he's getting at is his point, but also in the second term, Trump seems much more interested in the war, the culture war, and in settling scores than he does necessarily in the basic governing issues. Take a listen.
First term was filled with impulses, and the second term is efficient, ruthless, and it's happening every day. This movement toward authoritarianism is very distinct and needs to be taken seriously. This is not just a normal, we talked about a budget battle and all that. That's normal politics. This is something extraordinary.
Would Trump be better served if he used his power, which you say he still has, and I think there's an enormous amount of the country that's very happy with him, to make changes and focus on the economy rather than the culture war, broadly speaking?
No, I told you, you can do both. Look, the guy that you just showed is a avowed liberal.
Right, he's a
and he's on Meet the Press. I can't get on Meet the Press, neither can you. And we both have huge best-selling books. And we both are smart, and we both know what's going on. You and me can't get on Meet the Press. Only leftists can get on. Trump was badly hurt personally, and he took it personally, in the 4 years that he was not president.
Yep.
And he blames the media for a lot of it. And yes, he's seeking retribution. And yes, he's a changed man from the first time around. But that doesn't mean that he can't govern effectively. The tariffs may pay off. They might not. We don't know yet. He's basing a lot of his future on the tariffs.
Right.
Putin might come to the table if Trump plays the China card correctly, and that'll happen pretty soon. So all of this, if you were a high school teacher, would be an incomplete. What isn't incomplete is the stranglehold that the left-wing media corporations have on information flow in this country. And Trump is trying to break that cabal, and it's a worthy enterprise. I don't care if they're liberal myself, but banishing other voices, which they are doing, and it's obvious they are doing
that's fair.
It's provable. That's wrong. It's bad for America. And Trump is good for trying to break them and humiliate them.
Well, and he is doing it, unquestionably. And you make a good point. Bias is not having an opinion, it's excluding opinions, something we don't do at NewsNation, clearly, because you and I argue every week, much to the viewer's delight. We think about, though, what Trump is doing here. And it is, I don't know, you want to use the word extraordinary, right? Especially when it comes to, and what I watched on the No Spin News earlier, using the military and or Border Patrol and ICE unilaterally to go into major American cities. Here's my question to you, especially when you see Border Patrol walking up and down the Magnificent Mile in Chicago. A little different than what we're watching in Portland right now because of how Antifa has attacked ICE in Portland. How much of this is performative? How much of this is going to actually make these cities safer and better?
Well, he succeeded in making D.C. safer.
He did?
So that's a fact. Okay, you start with the facts. I think there is some theater going on here. But remember, Donald Trump wants to be known as a law and order president. It's a winning issue for him. Illegal immigration has been a winning issue for him. So there's no downside for Trump to send in federal forces to control cities that are out of control. Nobody can argue that Chicago is a controlled city, a safe city. There are thousands of African Americans murdered in the town, and the mayor and the governor have not solved the problem and don't know how to solve the problem. You can make the argument
well, they know
that
how
the locals
they just
will
won't.
do it better. Right. So Trump is winning across the board here. Remember, winning is very important to the president because he's got a political issue that mobilizes his base. He is making cities safer by the federal presence, and he's going after people that his base despises, Antifa and criminal aliens. This is a win right across the board for him. And Meet the Press can scream all day long about it, but Trump's base is applauding it with a standing O.
I think it's more than his base, at least from my time in D.C., where I spend most of my life, regrettably. But there is a lot of people who you would not necessarily think, based on appearance or the fact that 90% of D.C. is Democrat and voted for Kamala Harris, who are giving high fives and thank yous to the National Guard and to the federal agents are there because in many cases it was the worst neighborhoods, it was the minority neighborhoods that supposedly are being hurt by the federal presence are actually the ones who are the most grateful. Can we talk about my favorite topic now?
Yeah, as Cuomo mentioned, we did a documentary. I interviewed Leland on Born Lucky, his book. And I also blurbed the book, which means I gave it a nice review on the cover. And the reason I did this is because there are millions of American parents who are suffering grievously tonight because their children have been diagnosed with a malady and they don't know what to do. And they don't want to load the kids up with drugs, and they don't want to do a lot of the things that the therapists recommend. And Leland went through it himself. And his father actually quit his job to make sure that Leland had at least a chance to fight through the autism. It's an amazing story because he's sitting right there with his red tie on as a very successful broadcast journalism in perhaps the most competitive industry in the world. And he had autism, born with it, almost died when he was born. And the story that unfolds is very riveting about Leland and his dad, but it's also directed at people. There is hope. You can do this. Your child can succeed, which is badly, badly needed. Now, Leland's going to be on my program tomorrow, the No Spin News, and I'm going to tell you, I don't usually do this, but I'm going to tell you what I'm going to ask you. Right
I'm
at
taking
top,
notes.
And that's what you think of RFK Jr.'s autism stance. I'm going to ask you that, and I don't want you to answer now, and I just want to think about it, because that is riveted. All right, RFK and his vax stuff and his medical theories it riveted people into this. But going back to our discussion beforehand, Leland Vittert should be on every Blanken network news program there is, but he's not. And that's wrong. That's morally wrong. It's wrong for the country. And the network news chieftains who have set up this exclusionary zone that only liberals can be heard should be drummed out of there and banished forever and put on Devil's Island. You know where Devil's Island is, Vittert? Do you know where it is?
Off of Australia?
You don't. It's, yeah, close. Off of South America, all right? It's a French penal colony that they shut down.
I should have paid more attention to my dad when he would teach me geography.
Right, and you need to know that. Well, that's where I'd put all of these network chieftains. They'd all go to Devil's Island.
Okay.
That's how badly they have hurt this country. So buy Leland's book, all right, Born Lucky. You will thank me after reading it.
All right, Bill. Thank you very much. Looking forward to joining you tomorrow. I made some notes here for the No Spin News tomorrow at 6 p.m. Bill, good to see you as always. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.